answering questions as former Jehovah's Witnesses. This next question we're going to do by itself because it's a long one to answer. It's about our first pregnancy and what happened. What happened, babe?
So I'm going to be kind of disassociated a little bit because I'm still in my emotions about this. Okay. We were 17 years old when we got pregnant with our first daughter. Obviously, we were not planning on that happening, but we were kind of young, stupid teenagers.
We were in love. If you haven't seen our story before, it's all over. Go from there.
Yeah. So we found out we were pregnant, and the first thing that anybody does when they're in trouble as one of Jehovah's Witnesses is that they have to call for what's called a judicial meeting. When this happens, the person who has made a mistake, us, they are going to go meet with 3 elders. They're going to discuss what they did. They're going to discuss, their emotions behind it. Are they sorry?
Why did it happen?
Was it planned? Things like that. Which, by the way, because we were minors, we were not supposed to be meeting with anybody's elders without an adult in the room, but both of us met with our elders.
Just elders alone as minors.
We are not allowed to record. We are not allowed to record. They do not record, or if they do, they don't tell us about it. They do have a folder for everybody's little judicial cases that they cover, but once the judicial case is done, they burn the folders. So also too, a little bit of history. When someone gets in trouble as one of Jehovah's Witnesses and they have that judicial meeting with the elders, they then get some form of punishment. There's different types of punishment. There's being reproved, which is where you can still go to the meetings and still talk to people.
But they announce on stage that you did something wrong. It's kind of like an embarrassment.
It is a public humiliation.
It's a public humiliation,
ritual.
really.
That's all it is. They announce in front of the entire congregation what your punishment was. There is one form of punishment where it's not super public.
It's an announced public reproval, but it's a private reproval. That's what it's called. It's just they give you the punishment, they don't announce it.
Right. So I got reproved, which was shocking because I thought I was going to get disfellowship because having sex before marriage is a big no-no. And the only reason that I think I didn't get disfellowshipped was because I was new and because my family had gone through a tragedy.
Now, remember, we were in 2 separate congregations at this point. That's why we had separate elder meetings.
Yes.
She's like an hour and a half away from me, so she's in her own congregation, had her own 3 elders that she dealt with, and then I had 3 separate elders that were not discussing anything going on between the sets.
Yeah, we weren't allowed to speak to each other. Phone calls were forbidden, meeting up was forbidden. It was almost like they were trying to catch us in a lie. So we weren't allowed to talk, we weren't allowed to do any of that. So anyways.
Long story short, again, so we both have our meetings. What happens?
So I got reproved and Andrew got disfellowshipped.
We found out you were getting reproved before I was getting disfellowshipped. They hadn't made my decision. They wanted to disfellowship me, but when my elders found out you were getting reproved, they were upset because it was going to look worse for them to disfellowship one and reprove another.
As long as we have been in this religion and as many stories as we've heard, we have never heard a story like ours. As far as the punishment and how they went about handling it. Because the truth is there is rules inside the religion, but each congregation handles things how they want to handle it. So it's semi-unified, but not really. Every congregation has its own little quirks and stuff. It all depends on the elders.
Yeah, and it didn't help, like you said, they were probably a little more sympathetic towards you because you were,
Well, and I'm a woman. I was so emotional.
I don't necessarily cry on cue, so they maybe read into that. But another thing was one of the elders on my case happened to be my ex-best friend's older brother who did not like me.
Never been on
and I was his first major case. It was just not appropriate.
He was too young to even be an elder, honestly. Anyway, so I got reproved, he got disfellowshipped. Now this was a problem because,
and we won't even talk about what happened in those elder meetings right now.
No, that's a different story. The questions that they asked in those elder meetings, that's an entirely different story. Freaking disgusting. Anyways. So when Andrew got disfellowshipped, I was crushed because the rules as being one of Jehovah's Witnesses is if there's a disfellowshipped person, you are not to associate with them. The reason that people get disfellowshipped is because they don't show repentance, aka crying, I'm so sorry, which Andrew, he was sorry, but he also loved me. So he wasn't that sorry. And I think that they took that and ran. He did apologize to them, of course. But then the other reason is if they're not repentant. So these random men are judging us on if we are repentant or not. Now, if someone gets disfellowshipped, you are not to have any communication with them. They can't speak to you. You are not to speak to them.
And it's only not even family. Even if you have family, back then, I mean, they've changed the rules again to something they've changed the rules on. It's completely different now. But back then, even family, if you had a disfellowshipped family member, unless it was your parent or your child, that was about the closest you could be. That was disfellowship and still speak to each other.
Correct. Yeah. So you can imagine what happened. So when I asked my elders, I was like, wait a minute. So
Because we were just going to get married.
we were planning to just get married. I wanted to get married. I didn't want a big wedding. I was scared and we weren't planning on a pregnancy, but I was actually really happy because we knew we wanted to be together. So, it wasn't the best timing, but we were still excited. So anyways, when I asked my elders, I was like, so wait a minute, you're telling me that I can't be with him. I can't talk to him. I'm pregnant with this child. I told you I love him. How do you expect me to treat this relationship? They looked me dead in my face and they said, like a business transaction.
So basically, in order for us to keep following the rules and show I was repentant and to make sure she stayed reproved and not disfellowship, we had to be separated the whole pregnancy till I got reinstated, which was about 11 months later.
It was awful.
So we saw each other during her first pregnancy with our child, what?
A handful of times, like
times.
maybe a dozen times, maybe.
Yeah, maybe not
over,
if that. I didn't see you for the first 4 or 5 months period.
I know the reason that I'm saying a dozen is because at the end of the pregnancy you go every 2 weeks, and because I was having so many labor pains, your parents did allow you to come up to the later because I could have gone into labor at any time. And he was able to be at the delivery, but our entire pregnancy was spent apart. He didn't get to go to. You went to the ultrasound finding out that she was a girl. He was so happy. Anyways, it was just really terrible. It was awful, and we're angry and we're bitter about the fact that we will never have that time back. And what's so crazy is we were not outraged enough, and I think it was just because we were scared and trying to make the right decisions on everything. But even with the hope that the witnesses give us, we still would have never gotten this time back. And I don't know why that didn't
But we're kids. We're 17-year-old kids. What do we know?
But anyway, so it was not a good experience at all. You would think smarter people probably would have been like, this isn't right. We're going to, But when you are in a cult, dude, that shit gets in your brain, and it is hard to get out of that. So anyways, that was, so hopefully that covers that question. We're so thankful for our first daughter, but we are very sad that we didn't get to spend that precious time together. So we're trying to just
make it up now. We're making up for all the lost time now.
Yeah, we are.
Thanks,
if
y'all.
If you have any questions about it, any other questions, let us know.
Thank you.